Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here, back with another new standard deck with March of the Machines. This time I want to try out some of the new green-white cards in kind of a more counters-focused shell. So the main draw to this deck, I think, is this card, Dusk Legion Duelist, 2/2, that whenever you put a counter on it, you get to draw a card. It only happens once a turn, but that's not really a big deal. So this gives you a 2-drop that, is going to give you some card advantage as the game goes on, which is obviously great. It is pretty fragile, but it's also only 2 mana. Beyond that, I'm also trying this card, Knight-Errant of Eos. So this is a card that really wants you to be playing a ton of creatures and a ton of cheap creatures. So it may be... I have a lot of creatures in my deck. I have 30 creatures in my deck. I maybe should have a few more 1-drops to really fully push this thing. I kind of think this card's not going to prove to be very good. It's great in your best hands, but it really falls off pretty hard if you don't have a great hand. Generally, in aggressive decks, Convoke is kind of a trap, because you just wind up with cards that aren't very good unless you're convoking, and if you're convoking, you're not attacking. But I'm going to try it here. We'll see. So those are 2 of the new cards. Progenitor Exarch, which if you watched my video about the white-black Phyrexian deck, I said there that I think this card is quite strong, and I'm going to try it here as well. Obviously, we don't have all the Phyrexian synergies. The incubator tokens, I think when you make them, it triggers... No, it doesn't trigger that because you're not putting the incubate tokens on this. So you're just getting, random 2/2s from your 1-drop. But the important thing with this thing is it's something that you can use to convoke, and it's something that can wear counters from like Siege Veteran, Clay Champion. This card's always seemed really strong to me, but it's never had a home in Standard. Another new card I've got, Invasion of Gobakhan. This time I've got it in my main deck. In the Phyrexian deck, it was in the sideboard. I continue to just want to try this. I think it's another one of these cards that's like really good in your good hands, but in your average and below average hands, it's just awful, which that's usually a recipe for a card that doesn't actually wind up being, a staple of Standard. We've got some Thalias, some Quirion Beastcallers. This is just to push the counter synergy a little bit more. Siege Veteran, which obviously, that's one of the best ways to put counters onto the Dusk Legion Duelist. You can have a curve of this thing on 2, Siege Veteran on turn 3. Beyond Siege Veteran, I also considered playing Fight Rigging and the Simian Simulacrum. If you really wanted to get more out of the Dusk Legion Duelist, that would make sense to play those cards. I wanted to make room for Archangel Elspeth to give this deck a little bit of reach, a little bit of, backdoor life gain. So I wound up having to cut the other 3 mana things that put counters right away on the Dusk Legion Duelist. I'm trying 1 copy of Ozolith the Shattered Spire. This does really, it enhances your counters a fair amount, but it's also kind of a 2 mana, doesn't do anything card. So you definitely don't want to have a lot of copies of this. Maybe 1 or 2 would be okay in a deck like this. We'll have to play in to find out. I've gone through this in a confusing way. I think I kind of talked about all the cards I wanted to hit. 24 lands, and pretty heavily into white. We do have some, green 2-drops, so you can't play like 0 forests, but it's a pretty heavily white-based deck, so it's mostly plains. Only 2 Overgrown Farmlands to minimize the odds of having lands come into play tapped on turn 1 or turn 2. Sideboard is almost entirely white cards. This card's interesting, Surge of Salvation. So this is a new white-red hate card from March of the Machines. It gives you and a permanent you control hexproof, so you're protecting yourself from like Go for the Throat or Lightning Strike, or protecting your creature from one of those. And then prevent all damage that black or red sources would deal to creatures you control this turn. So importantly, this is not just a fog. It's a partial fog. But it can save all your creatures from like Brotherhood's End. If the board is really crowded with lots of red and black creatures, you can have a really great combat where rather than your creatures trading, obviously you're going to win all the combats or at a minimum not lose them. Very powerful card. It, however, is something that, it doesn't add any power to the board. I always like playing these cards in like really small numbers because I don't think this is a card you want to necessarily draw 2 copies of in a game, and you certainly don't want to see like 3 of these in your opening hand. That would be a recipe to mulligan, basically. Got some Destroy Evils. This is mostly for people who are playing Shieldred and Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. I played with this deck some, and one of the things I found is that Shieldred is just oppressive against it. Like because you just don't have a lot of evasion, you're basically just making big ground creatures, and you need to win through dealing your opponent damage. Shieldred is just like massive problem. Anytime it's in play, you're probably losing. Like usually if someone casts Shieldred, your greatest hope is you can make one of your creatures big enough that you force them to trade their Shieldred with it, which that is really not a winning strategy. For a while I was playing no Fateful Absences, no removal in my deck at all, and just every time someone played Shieldred I thought I was going to lose, so I decided I needed to play a little bit of that stuff, and I've got a little bit more of it in the sideboard. 4 Brutal Cathars in the sideboard. That's just because I think this is a really good card if you play against any white creature deck. That's mostly where you're going to want it. So this is another new card, Boon-Bringer Valkyrie. So this is kind of like Lyra Dawnbringer or whatever the one that was before Lyra Dawnbringer that was the same card was. This one's a little bit better because backup one is a better ability than what Lyra had, or what I can't remember the name of Baneslayer Angel. The backup one ability is better than what either of those cards had, I think. This is primarily a card against mono red, and the play pattern you're going to be hoping for is, to have a decent-sized creature in play. You're going to play this, put the backup counter on whatever your decent-sized creature is, get to attack with that, gain some life, and then you're still going to have a 4/4 flying first strike lifelink, which your opponent's going to need a removal spell to win the game. Actually, I lied. I made room for 2 Surge of Salvations in my sideboard. 3rd copy of Invasion of Gobakhan. I think this is a card that you really you're never going to want to have 4 of in your deck, because if you don't have creatures to actually threaten to attack the battle, it just really isn't a very good card. Some Unlicensed Hearses, obviously, for people who are trying to reanimate Atraxa. Then a couple more Planeswalkers, just if you need to make your deck more resilient against sweepers, or just more grindy. So that's the deck. I think that this deck really... There are some cool new cards in it, but I don't know that any of them are enough to push it to the point of being like an actual top-tier deck in Standard. I think it's just so hard to compete with the decks that are playing Shieldred and or Fable of the Mirrorbreaker if you don't have either one of those cards in your deck. But I want to give it a try, and maybe I'll be proven incorrect. So let's find out. All right, Reasonable Curve. Certainly going to start with Skrelv on turn 1, and then we'll see what I draw. Probably I want to play just Progenitor Exarch as a 1/2 on turn 2, so I can convoke this thing on turn 3. Ideally, I would draw a 2-drop to play on turn 2, and then another 1-drop for turn 3, so I can convoke this thing for 4 on turn 3. We're going to need some pretty specific cards to come off the top of the deck for that to happen, though. By pretty specific cards, I did not mean Brushland. I guess I'm attacking here. And I will play this as a sad one, too. So if I draw a land next turn, I'm obviously going to convoke this thing into play. And I think I'm happy that I played it as a 1/2, because The alternative would be if I draw a land, I could play this and incubate it. I think I want to play out my hand a little bit faster than that, though. Oh, okay, my opponent's up to Jace things over there. This would have been so good if I'd drawn it for the last turn. Come on, please don't whiff. One hit. I think that this card, the ceiling on it is a lot better than Venerated Loxodon, but I think the average case is worse. So unless you're convoking for like 3 or 4, it's pretty hard to get 2 cards. I guess I could have filled my deck with more 1 and 2 drops to make it better, but that is not what I've done. I think I don't care about my life total, so I should just hold my Boseiju. Just take damage from the bushland. This way, maybe they have something we don't want to Boseiju. They appear to be just a control deck. Would be my guess. I don't really know what's going on with the prologue to Phyresis. I assume they're trying to proliferate somehow. And they pulled 3 spells off the top of my deck. That's pretty rude. Pretty rude, opponent. Oh no, and they had to populate. I was hoping they were just going to have the new sweeper. They did not. Progenitor Exarch looks pretty good here, though. Still seems like I'm probably going to lose. I had to guess. So the question is, do I want to play around them having a card like Wandering Emperor or just any sort of removal spell? And the way I do that, obviously, is by sending both of my creatures at Jace. And I think the answer is I do want to do that, actually. Bring the ending. Okay. I guess I should have cast that first, maybe? Or maybe just not even cast it at all. If they have another sweeper here, I'm doomed. I certainly, like, if they have White Sun's Twilight, there's no way I'm winning. Another Jace. Okay. Come on, Clay Champion off the top of my deck. Or Archangel Elspeth would be good. I think I'm going to wind up just Fateful Absencing in that Jace. It would take me so much to kill it with damage. I think I'm just going to plus my Elspeth as well. Work up to the point where I'm threatening the -6 ability. So I think my graveyard's pretty juicy. They wrathed me once and they milled me some. Although I do have a decent number of 5s and 4s in here that wouldn't come back. I certainly have enough 1s, 2s, and 3s that it would be a powerful play, though. The fairy. Who slows the sunset? You would have thought with, like, Teferi being in standard for this long, he would have had enough time to figure out who is slowing the sunset. But apparently not. So this is non-token soldiers. No particular synergy with Archangel Elspeth, sadly. This thing cannot block. I'm actually going to win this game. Would not have thought that that was what was going to happen. I plus one more time here. Archangel Elspeth seemed good that game. It was certainly the best card that was in my deck, which is pretty nice. I guess this is the kind of matchup where you want Invasion of Gobakhan. They do have Planeswalkers, so I'm going to leave Fateful Absence in my deck. And I'm going to leave the Ozolith in my deck just because I think the games might go slow enough. It allows you to put, you know, +2/+2 on a creature every turn for 2 mana once you get it going. In addition to just like the passive benefits it's going to add. So this is actually pretty threatening. Do I need to cut maybe a clay champion or two just to keep my creature count, like my cheap creature count, somewhat high? And I think I'll cut 2 of these Quirion Beastcallers. Or should I cut? I'm going to cut 1 of the Skrelvs. Just mix and match a little bit. Both Skrelv and Quirion Beastcaller are pretty terrible against people playing with Depopulate. Okay. I only have 2 Thalias in my deck. Maybe I should have more, but it's kind of awkward that I drew one of the few cards that shows by Thalia. Although it doesn't really matter that much. I don't think I'd be spending my mana on anything else on turn 3. I might, now that I draw 1-drop, I'm probably actually just going to convoke Knight-Errant of Eos. Weird. Wonder what happened in the first game that made them think they should have Skrell's Hive in their deck. Can't bring the ending. It's a prologue to Phyresis. Certainly not a great card against Thalia. Do I just want to play the Ozolith this turn? I'm worried that they're going to depopulate. If I play Clay Champion. Maybe I should just do that and just force them to do it. I think if I only play the Ozolith, it's a little bit awkward because I almost don't want to attack with Thalia because I don't want to let them get me to 3 poison for free. I think I'm going to play the Clay Champion. I want to have 1 blocker back so that they're going to get to deal me 1 poison for free at most. And I'm going to attack with everything. This way, next turn, if they go attack with these 2, depopulate, I will have blocked 1 of the poison. I'll only be at 2 poisons, so they won't have me to corrupted. So the Skrell's Hive won't be giving lifelink until they, you know, poison me again in some way. Alright, so that's what I was expecting to happen. I'm gonna have the follow-up Beastcaller, Dusk Legion Duelist. They're well supplied with Murexes. I think I'm just going to be ignoring the Jace.
Our plans are beyond your comprehension.
I wanted to play this first in case they had to bring the ending card again. So I want to make sure that this one resolves. This gives me some assurance against another depopulate, because I would get the token from the Dusk Legion Duelist. Also, I'm going to get to put the +1 counter on the Duelist, allowing me to draw a card. I guess if I'd gone in the other order, I would have lethal immediately, but this way I have lethal in their upkeep anyway, because the Skrelv's Hive is going to deal them a damage unless they... This doesn't do anything. And they gave me another poison, so I got that at least. Sadly, this hand is one land short of being good. This is pretty nice. I think we'll ditch the Ozolith. Rude. This is probably a typical Grixis deck, although before I started recording I was playing on the ladder some, and I started off a game against someone who I thought was playing a typical Grixis deck, and then they played Necro Duality and started playing zombies. And then they had Boseiju in their deck too, so anything can happen, that's what I'm going to say. I certainly want to be trading damage in this matchup. My opponent has better late game cards than I do. Don't think I'm going to Fateful Absence the Corpse Appraiser, though. More cards for me, please. Thank you. Maybe if I'd drawn my second Fateful Absence off of this trigger, I would have Fateful Absence the Corpse Appraiser and attacked for 3. So it was probably right to play the Brushland rather than hedge against drawing one of my 3 copies of Razorverge Thicket, because I don't think it really is going to matter very much that that I have this Razorverge Thicket. I'm going to have to play tapped at some point. Come on. Card off the top of my deck that puts a counter on the Dusk Legion Duelist. Backup Dusk Legion Duelist is not an example of a card that does that. I thought for a while about Fateful Absencing my own Siege Veteran just to cycle it. Now I'm glad that I didn't. I guess I'll do this now. This way they can't loot the blood away to gain 2 life. Although they probably wouldn't even want to do that because they'd rather use their mana to crack the clue, I'd imagine. But it doesn't hurt to deny them the option. So I think they attacked me there because they're assuming that my deck is full of ways to put counters on Dusk Legion Duelist, so they might not be able to block even if they hung back, and they're correct. I think I'm gonna just use my mana this turn rather than try to save this guy for next turn. Because remember, if I save it for next turn and I play it for 3, then like it's gonna be the turn after that it actually starts doing something. This way it starts affecting the board a turn sooner. And I'm down 1/3/3, but I get the use of the 3/3 and the 1/2 a turn earlier, and also if I draw something else to do with my mana next turn, I can do it. Invoke Despair. Sure, I'll weep about that. Kind of feel like they probably have a removal spell, but maybe not. Looks like not. I don't think there's any reason to hold back on this guy, or I could do it for X's 2 and crack one of them into their turn, but oh, that was a reason maybe to hold back. If had that resolved, I was going to have 2 Progenitor Exarchs that could have cracked 2 of them for free. Okay. Gonna be forced to jump because I'm putting the counter on the Dusk Legion Duelist again. I enjoy drawing cards. I think I'm actually gonna keep the Siege Veteran back so I can convoke for 2. That deck has way more 2-drops in it than just 1-drops. It's what the 3rd time I played this card and I haven't hit 2 creatures yet. It's just really hard to get to the point where you're convoking for 3 or 4. I can't believe I've had against the Grixis deck this Dusk Legion Duelist get counters 4 times. It's pretty nice. Come on, Clay Champion. They might be dead even without the Clay Champion, but I don't think there's any way they're winning this game if my top card is a Clay Champion. Alright, Fateful Absence to kill Sheoldred was pretty nice. So, at a minimum, Destroy Evils would be upgrades over Fateful Absences, but I might just want them all. What don't I want? think Quirion Beastcaller's kind of sad. Do I want Surge of Salvation in this matchup? Does it protect me against Invoke Despair? I'm going to look that up. I was thinking that it didn't, but I should double check. Target opponent. It does protect against Invoke Despair. I didn't realize that that was how that card worked. That's great. I guess this is the problem with the Ozolith, is it's such a synergy card that it's hard to board it in. All right. I'm going to leave Archangel Elspeth in my deck just to get more reps with it in this matchup. It's possible this is a card that's not good enough in this matchup. It would make sideboarding easier if I was taking it out. Don't think I want to play Progenitor Exarch as a 1-drop here. I think I'm going to save it so I can get more power out of it, because I need to have a bunch of power to crack Invasion of Gobakhan, given that I drew 2 of them. Why do they have this card in their deck? Weird. So that's a spot where like 3 other cards are the same thing, so I'm just going to go after the one that's different. This also probably makes it so they're not going to be able to use their mana very effectively this turn. I mean, if they want to, they can trade a card for just Progenitor Exarch. Did. Also, why would you have this in your deck over all the other options you could have? I guess people like this because it exiles, so you can exile like Tenacious Underdog and Razor Lash Transmogrant, but you could just play Flame Blessed Bolt to do that. I don't understand that one. Like, obviously removals, like 2-mana removal spells are fine and constructed, but that particular one is confusing to me. Does it make any sense to just let them pick this thing off with their mana this turn? I don't think so. I think I'm going to Invasion of Gobakhan and then play Thalia. As we can see, Knight-Errant of Eos is looking not so great. They're pretty much forced to go for the throat this. Whoa, I whiffed. Should put more Ornithopters in my deck. That was a real good draw. It's going to allow me to animate this. I can play this Clay Champion. Considering chumping. I was thinking they were just going to let it through, but maybe chumping makes sense. This thing is really powerful once you get it on the backside, but it is, as we saw this game, it's pretty hard to get to that point. I think I want to force them to either abrade the Clay Champion or not get to attack this turn. Huh. I would have thought if they were going to do that, they would have abraded this token in response. Guess not. I'm just going to attack with the Clay Champion on the Invasion of Gobakhan. Rather than convoking it for 1. Maybe, well, I guess I could have hit more Progenitor Exarch, which would have been pretty awesome if that had happened. So maybe that was a mistake. Let's see, what would I have hit? What would it be? Show me the goods. I would have whiffed. I played perfectly. Maybe Invasion of Gobakhan was the card I was supposed to be sideboarding out just to make sure I had more creatures. I'm trying to fit the Surge of Salvation. Because, like, it's been annoying for my opponent this game, but I think that I could have easily had more effective spells this game than... Okay, you've weakened Knight-Errant of Eos. That'll work. It's not good for me. Because at this point, I'm just down a card because I'm never going to get to flip this Invasion of Gobakhan, and they've, played the spells. Also, I've spent 5 damage attacking Invasion of Gobakhans. And it's made them spend 4 mana, and one of them did trade for an abrade. But I think overall it hasn't actually been particularly useful for me. Could I possibly win this game from this point? I don't think so. It's just impossible for their hands to be bad when they've got 2 bloods back up.
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it.
I guess I could draw, if I drew Progenitor Exarch off the top of my deck, maybe I could start playing again. This thing just dies to Liliana, so no thank you. Yeah, I'm going to take the Invasion of Gobakhan out of my deck. And I'm just going to play another Archangel Elspeth. One of the things that was holding this card back in my mind was I thought it was going to be bad against Invoke Despair, but if Surge of Salvation is just a great answer to Invoke Despair, maybe I don't need to worry about that so much. The other card that underperformed that game was certainly Knight-Errant of Eos. I played, what, 3 5-mana 4/4s? Okay, I got cut down to size. Replacement. I don't really know what I'm doing. That I'm putting all these copies of Skrelv in my deck, but I am doing it. This is going to be great. They're going to play Fable the Mirror Breaker, and I'm going to destroy Evil It. And by great, it's not great. It's really not great. Not what I needed. I wonder if they had Make Disappear in their deck or in their hand. Why didn't they crack the clue on their turn? I think Make Disappear is the only card that really makes sense there. Doesn't seem like a game I'm winning. I got to do that at least. They can still attack me, because this can't block. Guess I'm sort of putting up a fight with 2 lands. I think they're going to play a Sheoldred or another Invoke Despair, and then it will no longer seem like I'm sort of putting up a fight. Alright, that's not that bad for me. Certainly be worse. This can't be a game I win. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Yeah, it's not going to be a game I win. Please stop highlighting my cards. I have so few of them. Do you really need to kill them? Alright, that was a lot of turns without a land. Maybe I should have more 1-drops in my deck. What's the best one I'm not playing? There's Recruitment Officer. And there's Hopeful Initiate. This is going to be cut down. Black is the best color in Standard by so much. Hopefully my opponent has a way to kill this, because if they don't, I can't play my Archangel Elspeth. Do you think they maybe have Make Disappear? I think I should spend my 5 mana, so... If they had Make Disappear there, it would be sad for me. But that would also mean that they sat on the Make Disappear while taking 6 damage, which doesn't seem that likely. Ooh, nice. This is lethal. I think I want to play more Elspeths. Let's Surge. I think I'm taking Invasion of Gobakhan out of my deck in this matchup. I guess I didn't board in that one Elspeth. So this is the same configuration I had in game 3 of the previous match. I think I'm going to go with this again. I feel like I just want my deck to have more creatures in it. At least my game 1 configuration. I think after this match I'm gonna move all the Invasion of Gobakhans to the sideboard. Add maybe some Recruitment Officers and like another Thalia or maybe Simian Simulacrum. So I think the Knight-Errant of Eos are just too bad with the configuration I've got. I need more cheap creatures, and I need it to be easier to get to having 3 creatures in play. This also might be a good card to play as a 3 of, because drawing 2 of them really seems pretty crappy. Another card I could maybe play is 1 copy of Malira, the 2-mana 3/3. Are they invoking Despair? No? Shieldred? What's it going to be, opponent? Okay. It's not that annoying. Show me the 1/1s. Show me the 1/1s. Please show me the 1/1s. Come on, 2 Progenitor Exarch. Ooh, they did show me the 1/1s. I didn't call it right, though. I'm going to have to destroy Evil, the reflection of Kiki-Jiki now. Can't have my opponent just Kiki-Jiki and Corpse Appraisers. That's a surefire way to lose. They milled and invoked Despair. I think I was planning on just playing Thalia anyway. I maybe should have thought about it a little bit more and tap my green mana, so it might have been better to go Skrelv, Progenitor Exarch, another Knight-Errant of Eos. I don't think so, though. it's pausing for them here, it means they have another cut down in their hand. It's really the only reasonable thing it could be, I think. How did I know it? How did I know they had another cut down? What's the plan for this turn? So I gotta make disappear, which would sadden me. I think I'm maybe gonna start with Skrelv. Let's see what they do. Alright, they're getting priority, so they have make disappear in their hand. I guess I'll play around it. It's arena things. I think this guy you generally want to kill with the trigger on the stack, if you can, so you don't wind up giving them a free Invoke Despair. Or just a free removal spell of any variety. Oh, that was horrendous. Why didn't I just attack with Skrelv? I dealt 2 damage to myself to deal 1 less damage to my opponent. I could have just alpha'd. Could I have had lethal if I did my counters better? No. If I had gone 3-3, 4-4, 3-3, they would have just traded with Skrelv and gone to 2. Probably they're going to lose anyway, but I did miss a point of damage this turn. And I did deal 2 extra damage to myself. Feels good to beat Sheoldred. Sheoldred is my #1 enemy. Alright, so let's make a few revisions and play 1 more match. I think I've seen enough of Invasion of Gobakhan to know that it's not a card that I really want in all that many matchups. What's the best white 1-drop I'm not playing with? It obviously needs to be a creature. I don't think this is a Crawling Chorus kind of deck. Hopeful Initiate. Okay. As a consideration. It works well with the Ozolith, but I think I'm about to take the Ozolith out of my deck. Like, I like this card. It looks cool, but I think I need to have more creatures in my deck to make Knight-Errant of Eos work better. I think Recruitment Officer is a good option for a 1-mana card. I don't think Sinew Dancer's where it's at. Moth Rider Patrol. This honestly isn't that embarrassing. I'm not going to play with it, but it wouldn't be that insane to have it in my deck. Survivor of Corlos. Swooping Lookout. I guess Vigilance is nice with Convoke, because you get to attack and then cast it, but I don't think I want 1/2 flying Vigilance in my deck. And I don't think this thing does enough. I think I'm going to try some Recruitment Officers, which we got an emergency situation here. We got to fix this. This is another soldier as well, which that's nice with Siege Veteran. Then I think I want to cut the Ozolith. I'm going to try one of the Simian Simulacrums. Card style emergency. Alright, so now I padded the sideboard out with too many Invasion of Gobakhans. Maybe don't need all these Destroy Evils. Maybe we can... This way I'm boarding up to 3 cards that can kill Sheoldred. So against Grixis, I'd be boarding my 2 Surge of Salvations and a Destroy Evil. And I'd be cutting... probably Quirion Beastcallers at this point. I think this Elspeth, I don't have enough 3-mana cards in my deck to make it actually good. Because with this, you want to hit something good off of the -3. One card I'm not playing Adeline, because I'm trying to keep up this counters synergies stuff. I might just be working more and more towards just being a White Weenie deck, though. This is a little different from White Weenie, but it seems like I'm slowly converging on just being a White Weenie deck. The one thing I will say, though, Dusk Legion Duelist has actually been good with Siege Veteran, but you probably wouldn't have that in just your plain White Weenie deck. I think you need to have some additional ways to get counters like Clay Champion, Quirion Beastcaller. Alright, let's play one more match. So there's not enough land. This is a good amount of lands. What should I bottom? I don't think I really want to play Progenitor Exarch on turn 1. So I think I'm just going to bottom that one, actually. This is maybe an Infect deck. It's looking more and more like an Infect deck. Just playing Progenitor Exarch as a 1/1 would have been good this game. What's this? Tyvar's Last Stand, probably. I do think I'll be blocking this next turn. Oh, okay. Pretty much the same thing as Tyvar's last stand. Takes a lot of audacity to play audacity there. Is it even worth killing this? I guess they're gaining... You're going to be gaining 2 extra life a turn. I don't care about my life total. I'm giving them a card. I guess I care about my life total a little. I think we're going to block like that this turn, though. Just want to flood the board. This gives me 4 blockers. I've got 4 attackers. Okay. There wasn't a way they could do something with that card on their turn. I think there maybe was, but they chose not to. This isn't the kind of matchup that I want Brutal Cathar. And I don't think any of this other stuff helps me very much. I guess Destroy Evil, it hits Skrelv's Hive. They're probably going to have Annex Sentry in their deck, and they'll probably have Bloated Contaminator, so it probably does enough. I don't think I want Elspeth. Knight-Errant of Eos seems kind of suicidal to cast. So I definitely want to at least trim some of those. Skrelv also doesn't really do much in this matchup. I think I'm just going to go with that. I guess Skrelv is good against Annex Sentry. But that's not all that much, really. I think if Infect was a more popular deck, I'd want to have more stuff in my sideboard. Maybe I should have Boon-Bringer Valkyrie in my deck over Knight-Errant of Eos. Seems a little crazy. I'm going to play one more game with 2 Knight-Errant of Eoses. Everyone's hero Skrelv. Holy cow. This is a lot of crawling choruses. Alright, I'm going to leave Skrelv back because of Annex Sentry. I don't think I'm going to miss the 1 point of damage, or at least I hope I'm not. Ugh. The good news is it's going to be hard for them to use their Seed Core while Slaughter Singer's in play. Slaughter Singer. It's not Slaughter Slinger. So I'm going to give myself 2 3/3 blockers with a Skrelv I can use to protect something from Annex Sentry. So they can conceivably, like, Seed Corps pre-combat one of their guys. They didn't do that. If they have Tyvar's last stand, they're obviously going to win one of these combats, but what can you do? Got to block at some point. That really could have gone worse. That thing's scary. I hate Skrelv so much, and I drew so many copies of it. This is going to be my beatdown Skrelv. And this is going to be my Skrelv that's just 2/1/1 counters. So I'm not keeping it around. I don't think I need to make that play twice. I just wanted to get this up to 3 toughness. So it's a more effective blocker. This may be not the best way to split up those counters, but that's how I've chosen to do it. Live. Man, was Skrelv bad. I boarded 1 copy out. I drew 3 copies. There was some tough luck, certainly. What a good draw. I've only drawn 2 copies of Skrelv. As we did see last game, they do have some amount of stuff that I can use Skrelv to get protection with. So it's not as completely useless as it may seem. It is pretty useless, though. This is confusing, the Audacity is like... It makes it so that they're dealing regular damage about as fast as they're dealing infect damage. I'm trying to think about what am I going to do with my counter this turn. I think I'm just going to put it on the Recruitment Officer. And I'm attacking with Siege Veteran this turn. The other option would have, I guess, been to play the Brutal Cathar pre-combat, put the counter from the Siege Veteran on the Brutal Cathar. I think then I'm just inducing them to trade the Slaughter Slinger with the Siege Veteran. Maybe that's better for me. I take 2 less regular damage from the Jawbone Duelist if that happens. Also, they don't have access to this play, but I don't really care that much about that. Oh no, it's another Jawbone Duelist. Is that a good draw for me? I guess it means the Skrelv can't make something unblockable, at least. But the Skrelv can make it so that only the Clay Champion can block, so I just die to the Trample. Yeah, I don't think there's a way out of this. I'm dead, right? I think this is 8. I can only absorb 3, and I'm at 4. So I'm going to -1. It's not that good to be at -1. I'm at less than -1 now. I'm at sub -1. I guess Audacity was good for them this game. It seems like it would be kind of useless if they hadn't drawn it in combination with the Jawbone Duelists, though. Not even going to block. I can live through this. Oh, wait, I couldn't. All right, so 1 and 2 with this deck, which, if I'm being honest, is probably about what I expected. I think if I wanted to, I could certainly improve the matchup against something like Green, White, Infect, but I don't really think that's a very popular deck, so I don't know that it's worth focusing on. I think that I did win one match against Grixis. I think this deck is not going to be favored against Grixis, and I think it's probably not possible to solve that problem just because you're losing so hard on the card quality comparison. You just don't have a card that's remotely as good as Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And so you're kind of trying to rely on, okay, I'm going to try to be faster than them, but they have so much efficient removal that it's just not going to work out. This is probably at best like a bad version of Esper Legends. The one cool thing I did take away from this, though, is, Surge of Salvation stopping Invoke Despair, which probably a lot of people already knew that. It was new information to me, though. So that was pretty cool. Outside of that, yeah, I don't know that there's too much to be excited about from this. Even though Progenitor Exarch, this was maybe not its best home. This card continues to seem good to me. Archangel Elspeth actually seemed kind of good, too, to be honest. The Invasion of Gobakhan seemed kind of bad. I don't know that it's like so bad, don't even put it in your sideboard, but I'm probably not going to be putting it in any main decks going forward. Knight-Errant of Eos also seemed kind of bad. I didn't push this card as hard as I possibly could have. I could have played, 14 one-drops to make it better. But I think that there you're just constructing a deck that's going to be really bad against the black-red decks once they start boarding in, Brotherhood's End or something against you. And it's not even like those decks have a hard time dealing with one-drops. They've all got access to, at least 4 cutdowns after sideboard, probably 4 cutdowns plus another 1 or 2 other cards, like a Flameblessed Bolt or Lithomancer's Barrage or Whack, something like that. So you can't even really get under them by making a really low curve. So I think this card, well, I just don't think it's all that good, but I also don't think this is a good format for it. So that's the takeaway from that one. Hope you enjoyed the video. I just going to end with, I do not recommend this deck. Thanks for watching.